Campers. It's your host, Gaming Camper Dad. And I'm back on a live stream. But I'm not gaming. I am feeling like shit. I am driving back from work. Another long day, another shift done. That goes. That's how it goes sometimes. Just you work with what you got. I got nobody on here watching right now, but that's okay. At least I get some time to talk to myself and continue on with Hollow Stream for a Halloween season. My favorite season. I know it don't seem like I'm not that excited, but I'm just feel like dog shit, unfortunately. So it is what it is. Lord of mercy, I don't have any light. There we go. That's better. Some light there. Just driving home, dealing with everything I gotta deal with. We're day 10 into October, 21 more days, 3 weeks until Halloween, and I am super excited. This weekend I'm gonna finish up decorating my house. I've got lights to hang up, I've got skeletons to hang up. I actually got a couple little spooky skeletons here with me. I gotta hang up and attach to my roof, so it should be fun. It's gonna be a good time. One of my favorite things to talk about when the season comes around is the mysteries of our past, right? And horror stories we share. And I don't know about any of you, but I've heard some wonderfully spooky stories around this time of year. When I was a kid growing up, I remember my parents and I and my brothers would all go camping with friends of ours, and we'd spend at least one night every time we go camping to talk about ghost stories we had. Ghost stories and monster stories we've heard from people. And in all honesty, it's really wild to hear some of the stories my dad had, because what he would hear, it'd be like just interesting to say the least, right? So, and I have my own. Like, my mom had hers, my grandfather had his, but my grandfather really didn't talk too much about horror stories he experienced. He was more his more horror stories were his experiences in the war during World War II. My dad had some really wild stories for himself that, you know, his own mom, my grandmother on my father's side attested to, and my uncles attested to. I know my dad just had weird shit happen. I've had weird shit happen to me, but it's that time of year I want to talk about some of those spooky, scary stories that anybody has experienced out there. Hey, CRU, how you doing, man? I'm not gaming tonight. I'm driving. I feel like crap. I'm driving back to the camper. I'm not gonna be able to stream. I just got off work. But how you doing? That's right. We are now in the car, and we're talking about ghost stories. You got any good ghost stories? You haven't experienced much life yet, so you may not have any good ghost stories, but I've got a few of my own. And then I got a few of my dad's as well. Good, I'm glad you're doing well. Man, you are the #1 goat I got here. Ghost stories, that's right, man. It's spooky season, right? It's Hollow Stream for Halloween. And since I'm not going to be gaming tonight, might as well talk a little bit about ghost stories I've experienced. All right. And I've got a few. I've got a few that, unfortunately, there's some that it's hard for me, and I'm a logical person. I'm a person of science, but it's some things just can't really explain. So I'll tell you about one of the most frightening experiences I ever had. Oh man, I gotta pull in the gas station real quick. I gotta get something to drink for this ride. It's gonna be a long ride. What should I get? No, I'm not getting anything caffeinated though, because I don't need that. I'm just gonna fuck my whole blood pressure up. Alright, let's get this. Ugh. I need more hydration today. I need the vitamin C. Hello, how are you? All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you. All right. Snacks obtained for this drive home. Now, where was I? Ghost stories, yes. Ghost stories. So, one of the most traumatizing ghost stories I have a few, but one of the most traumatizing ones I have experienced in my life. And mind you, I never, ever really believed in ghosts. I didn't believe in spirits, right? I believe in God, but I don't believe in, most paranormal movies and shows and things like that. But this experience in my life is the reason why I do believe. Because I'm somebody that, if I can see something and I can't explain it, that I want to take it as something I physically see with my eyes. So, where I grew up, my parents bought their house after I was like 2 years old. They bought it from a gentleman who had built the house himself, and it was built in like 1943. It's a 2-story Cape Cod style house. The first floor had an addition added onto it years later, where it was like a dining room, kitchen, and living room. And then there was a half bathroom down there. I'm trying to paint this house so you can get an idea. There was the master bedroom, which was really just a standard sized bedroom. It wasn't a master bedroom. And then there was a porch on the side of the house, and then upstairs was 2 bedrooms. Right, basically a small little hall, a stairway that led up, a hall, a little tiny like hallway, and then 2 rooms. And that's where me and my brother's rooms were. Right. Me and my middle brother shared 1 bedroom. My oldest brother had the other room by himself, and that room had what I would call the cubby door. Now, you've probably seen movies where it's got that weird door that kind of is like a half attic area. That is where weird shit was. So growing up, I was scared of the dark as a kid, and I always had terrible dreams. But as I got older, I wasn't bothered by that. I love Halloween, I love horror. Like, that shit doesn't really bother me, because I always think, well, it's not real. None of it's fucking real, right? But it was a moment when I was in my 20s, I want to say it was 21 or 22, where I had experienced my first, like, what the fuck is that thing moment. So, for years, my oldest brother stayed in that room, and when he graduated and moved out, I took over his room, right? So that ended up becoming my bedroom. And when I took that bedroom over, every morning, right, I would wake up and that cubby door would be open. And I swear, every time I close it, right, I would fucking bang it closed every time, right? And I would wake up and it would be open. Or I would go downstairs, and when I would come back upstairs, that cubby door would be open. Don't know how it opened, it was just open. For years, I thought it was just our cats, right? My parents had 2 cats. They'd go and wander around upstairs. They would be able to stick their paw in this little tiny mouse hole that was chewed up there. Mind you, like I said, the house was built in the 40s. And pop the door open, then go into the crawl space in the attic. Not really an attic, but you get it. So I just get annoyed. Never thought anything of it. I either thought it was somehow a backdraft in there, or the cats were just getting in there. But the cats passed away, and then still the door would still be would just open, just randomly fucking open. I wouldn't understand why. It just fucking open. So everything came to a head when I was about 21 or 22 years old. I had moved out of the house already, but I had come to my parents' house to visit for the holidays. So I went back and was sleeping in my old room. Now, my old room had a twin bed that was pushed up against the wall where the windows were, and then there was the door to the bedroom, right? And then the closet over there, and then at the foot of my bed was the cubby door, right? It had gotten to a point where that door would open up, and I would just put shit in front of it so it would stop opening. Well, I had come home for the holidays and was sleeping upstairs in my room. In my old room, anyway. So that night when I was home, I was having a hard time trying to fall asleep. and I was laying in bed and I was rolling back and forth between looking at the windows and then looking at the doors. And the windows, right, was the main side of the house, and the way it's situated was you would get good moonlight through the windows, depending on the time of year. And around that time of year, I'd get good moonlight. So I was laying in my bed, like I said, I was 20, 21, 22, laying in my bed, moonlight showing, I couldn't fall asleep, and for some reason I just fell off. So I rolled back over, and I look over, and as I roll over to face the door, I look and I see what appears to be like a child, no more older than maybe 11 or 12 years old, and is in, I want to say, clothing of like the 40s era, the 50 era, and he is staring straight at me, like staring into my eyes, looking at me. Deadpan face, no emotion showing, just this thing is looking at me. And I'm looking back at it, and it's staring at me. And I look at this child, and it turns and walks through the fucking wall and fucking disappears. I'm gonna tell you, I never fucking jumped out of bed so fast in my life to turn on the lights. Honest to God. It was one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced in my life. And like I said, I had never in my life, ever before that time, believed in ghosts or the paranormal. I thought most of that shit is just people making it up, or they're coming up with their own ideas. But mind you, I wasn't asleep. I was wide fucking awake, because when I fucking got up, I booked my ass up out of bed and to the light switch. When I got to the light switch, turned on the light switch, that ghost was gone, or the whatever that was, and the cubby door was back open again. And I had put shit in front of that goddamn cubby door to keep it closed. I was tired of it just popping open, and it was open again. I swear to God, I've never once thought, before that time, never once thought ghosts were real. I thought it was bullshit, right? But that is the moment in my life where that changed. I looked at that moment and I said, holy shit, I never thought. And of course, like I said, the house was old, it's built in the 40s, really fucking creepy why that cubby door kept on open by itself every fucking day, which is to open. Worst, one of the most traumatic things I've ever seen in my life. Terrified the shit out of me. I ended up going to my pastor at the time and talking to him about it, and he was like, yeah, you need to pray, because that's not a good spirit. And I was like, what do you mean that's not a good spirit? He's like, spirits that are like that's not good. They're not there to like reach out to you. It's not the movies. He's like, when I was younger, I played with a Ouija board. We had shit flying all over the room, shit breaking against the walls. He's like, spirits like that, you cannot sit there and try to invite it in, because it's gonna get worse. It's one of the most terrifying moments, and I swear, for like 3 weeks straight, shit would be moved in my room, or shit would be open, shit would be broken, and it took 3 weeks of me just sitting there like, no, this isn't right, this isn't good, I gotta get done with that. So it's one of the most terrifying moments that I ever had to experience in my life. Never again. The other story I have, right, that I experienced is, so I used to hunt a lot when I was younger, right? I used to go hunting with my dad. That was my thing, right? I still occasionally go out and hunt, but I don't go deep in the woods anymore. And for good reason, right? So where I'm at, there's a fair amount of swamps where I live. And when hunting season comes around, you can go into the wetlands and kind of set up, and you'll get some nice sized whitetails. If you don't know what that is, they're deer. come around, you can post up, and you can get a good buck or good doe for deer meat for that season. So when I was like, I want to say it was 12 or 13, I went out hunting with my dad, and we went out to one of the wetlands out there. So we went out there, marshy area. He sets up probably about 100 yards down from me, and I set up by this tree east of him, right? I can't really see him. He's turning a different direction, but I know the tree he's at because I can see it, and I can see where he's posted up one of his things he would hang out to kind of identify where he was for me. So I'm sitting at this tree, and it's dusk, right? You know, it's starting to get dark, and I'm waiting, right? I'm waiting for something to walk past the line of sight, see if I can get a shot. As I'm sitting there, you know, I can hear rustling off in the distance. The rustling off in the distance doesn't bother me because I'm figuring, okay, it's probably a deer, maybe it's a doe, maybe it's a buck, maybe it's a couple of them moving around. Perfect. So I'm sitting there with my brother's 20 gauge shotgun, and I'm waiting, right? And I'm waiting, and I can hear something moving, and I'm expecting this deer to come out. It's starting to get more dark, but it's moving around in a weird way. It's not moving as if it's coming towards me or in a straight line, but it's moving kind of like in a semicircle, and it's moving up, which is weird for me because I never experienced a deer do that. So I'm sitting there listening and waiting for what I think is a deer to come out of the brush in front of me, right? And it's probably about, where the brush opening is probably about 60 yards, maybe. So I'm waiting, and I can hear it's moving around, it's rustling. It's getting darker, right? And as I'm sitting there, I'm posted, you know, on a tree. I'm sitting down. I'm in camouflage. You know, I got my orange hat, and I got my shotgun at the ready. And I'm not pointing it yet, but I'm pointing it down, and I'm just watching, waiting to see what I'm going to be shooting. And a couple minutes go by, and the rustling stops. The moonlight's starting to come out a little bit. I know my dad's going to be making his way over. So if I'm going to take a shot, I need that deer to come out. So I'm waiting. And I'm getting annoyed because I want it to come out. As I'm sitting there, looking into the tree line, I can see the glow of two eyes. And I'm thinking, okay, there's that deer. Come on out so I can shoot you, and I can go ahead and take you home and have some venison. Well, then it fucking stands up. When I say it stands up, now a standard deer, white-tailed deer, like a good-sized white-tailed deer, is about 4.5 feet from the shoulder here. That fucking thing stood up. It stood up to about 8.5 feet. And it's looking right fucking at me. And those eyes aren't fucking, you know, doughy eyes. They're fucking menacing, evil-looking fucking eyes. Like I said, I've grown up in this area my entire life. You know, when you hunt, you either are hunting in these swampy areas, or you're hunting on the edge of cornfields or farm fields, right? I'm fucking terrified. And mind you, I have a 20 gauge shotgun that's loaded with buckshot. There's not much that you would be afraid of at any age when you have that kind of a firearm. with you. But I was fucking terrified. Sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm probably going to get eaten alive out in the woods, or well, out in this marsh, and my dad's going to just see the fucking shotgun there and blood, and I'm going to be dead. Luckily, my dad came up like maybe 20 seconds later. Hey, you gotta go. I fucking squealed. My dad cussed me out, but he asked me, what the hell's wrong with you, boy? I'm like, Dad, there's something in the bush over there. He looks over, it's fucking gone. Now, I may have been just imagining things because I was fucking 13 years old at the time, but I swear that fucking thing was huge. It had to be 8 feet. Easily 8 fucking feet tall. So, those are the two ghost stories I have that I have experienced in my life. The question is, what have you experienced? Right? What have you experienced as something that's a ghost story or horror story? What's up, viewer? How you doing? We're driving. We're talking about spooky season and ghost stories. So if you got a ghost story, share it. No, I get one viewer and they go away. Now I got a few more ghost stories. That my dad shared with me when he was younger. And I want to say there's about 3 of them that I really remember. My dad was a delinquent when he was a kid. Like, my dad was a bad kid. Like, so when he was like 14, him and his brothers were out with the neighborhood kids playing football and soccer and shit like that. No. They were out playing in the park, and they wanted a ball. They wanted a ball to play with, right? A soccer ball or football or whatever. So, where did my dad say the closest place with the ball? The school. That's right. His high school would have soccer balls and footballs. They should just go there, because it's Saturday. So my dad took about 15 fucking other kids, went to his fucking high school, broke into the fucking high school, and then my dad and his buddies and these other kids proceeded to trash this fucking school because they wanted a ball to play with. Wild. But that was my dad. My dad moved around a lot. So, because my grandmother, she married and she dated a lot. But anyway, so my dad moved around a lot. And he has 3 stories, if I remember correctly. Lady on the Lake, the fish, and the... Okay, so my dad has 3 stories that I remember him telling. And to this day, he will sit there and tell you, if you told him, straight face, did this happen to you? He will say, yes, it happened. It was real. So, the first story I have... No, 4. Sorry, it's 4 stories. So the first story I have is my dad lived on a farmhouse that had a large fishing pond out back, right? Woods everywhere. So there's 2 stories associated to this pond story, right? The first story has to deal with him coming home one night late. It was foggy out, and he was coming home from a party or something like that. I think he said he was like 16 at the time. So he comes home, he starts going towards the house, and he can see the pond in the back, and he notices somebody standing by the pond. It's not his mom, his brothers aren't there, it's just him. And it looks like a lady in white robes, just standing by the pond. So my dad walks over to ask what the lady's doing at his house. As he's approaching her, she turns and looks at my dad, but my dad can't really get a good sight of her face. So my dad comes over and goes, "Hey, ma'am, what are you doing? You can get away from can you get off get out of the pond and get off the property?" But she doesn't say anything. So my dad starts walking towards her. And as he starts walking towards her, she starts backing up. But she's backing up into the pond, into the water. So as he walks closer, she continues to back up. My dad's still trying to tell her, "Ma'am, what are you doing? Get out of there. You get out of the pond. Just leave the property. That's all you gotta do, just leave." Well, she refuses to leave. And as he steps closer, she keeps walking backwards. And he keeps going and keeps approaching. And as my dad told me, as he kept, every step he took, she took a step back, until eventually she went under the water and disappeared. She never said a word. She just walked backwards into the water and then just vanished. The second story to that pond was my dad was out on his little rowboat that was there at the house when they bought it. So they went out my dad went out on the rowboat to go fishing. Now there was good sized catfish and bass in this pond. So he was out there fishing. And as he was fishing, he hooked on to a fairly large, as he says, a largemouth bass, right? He said it was roughly about 4 or 5 pounds. So it's a decent sized bass, right? At least for a kid. So my dad's reeling in this fish, and as he's reeling in this fish, something tugs hard on his fishing line. It like tugs, and it rocks the boat, right? My dad gets a little spooked, and then the line goes kind of soft, right? So my dad's like, "Oh, God, did this fish get off the line?" So he reels up his fish, and as he brings the fish up, the fish had been bitten clean, like all the way up to the head, like chunk gone. Okay. Yeah, a fish that size would have to be huge, right? But my dad talked about that pond was just something was off with him, and like I said, the lady just backed up and disappeared in the water. I wonder if I can get some music. I got other ghost stories. I'd love to tell you more about it, but I wanted to get at least a stream in because I may not be able to stream later on today because I feel like dog shit. But I told you some ghost stories. Maybe I'll tell you some more. Maybe I'll read some stories. I don't know. But I hope you guys are doing great. Hope you're doing well. Keep being you. Keep being awesome. Keep camping. And I'll see you guys on the next one.